The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, CARICOM leaders angered after two men from Trinidad and Tobago are obliterated on the open waters. It's part of the Trump administration's crackdown on drug smuggling and human trafficking. We talk about that tonight. Also tonight, the Free National Movement questions the government's decision to move forward with this specialty hospital despite public objections. And later, it's now a tough race shaping up in Michael for the PLP. Who's going to get the nomination? We're talking about what's happening there. Meanwhile, Robert DePuche Carron joins me this evening. He talks about his plans to enhance daily life and overall experience in the constituency. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, the latest U.S. military strike in the Caribbean has claimed dozens of lives, among them two men from Trinidad and Tobago. The region is now experiencing and expressing an outcry while the Davis administration is saying little to nothing. We get the story from Devontae Hanna, and then when we come back, we hear from National Security Minister Wayne Monroe.
Two Trinidadian men are dead, and their families, according to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, are condemning the act, denying that the two fishermen were involved in drug trafficking. Strikes like this are at the center of regional discussion. The latest U.S. bombing of alleged narco-terrorists in Caribbean waters, bringing the death toll to nearly 32 people. Meanwhile, protests have erupted in Grenada, with demonstrators demanding peace and an end to the military strikes in the region. CARICOM over the weekend issuing a statement calling for the Caribbean to be upheld as a zone of peace and reaffirm the importance of dialogue and engagement towards the peaceful resolution of disputes and conflict. It continued, quote, CARICOM heads of government reiterated their continued commitment to fighting narco-trafficking and the illegal trade in small arms and light weapons. They underscored that efforts to overcome these challenges should be through, quote, ongoing international cooperation and within international law. Yet the only response here in the Bahamas so far is from the National Security Minister Wayne Monroe, who opted not to condemn what the international lawmakers are calling an illegal strike. Instead, Monroe sent a warning to Bahamians.
Right now, as we understand it, that activity is off the coast of Venezuela. My advice to Bahamians, just stay out of go-fast boats off the coast of Venezuela.
Since September, near 36 people have been killed, and the lack of formal statement from the Davis administration is leaving only Monroe's comments to stand alone, which is now drawing strong criticism. Devontae Hanna, Eyewitness News.
Well, I'll tell you, Minister of National Security Wayne Monroe was recently interviewed on U.S. media regarding that very policy, and he said something similar. Take a look.
All of this as the U.S. military is carrying out multiple deadly strikes on what it says are drug smuggling boats in international waters.
Do you have any concern that what the U.S. military is doing near Venezuela could wind up happening in your area?
I don't put any restrictions on any person who has a free will to do whatever they see fit in defense of their country. And if you are caught and you're guilty, well, I would hope that the full weight of the law falls upon you.
And even if authorities are stopping some smugglers, others may slip through the cracks.
So, of course, that was a recent interview that Monroe did with U.S. media, NBC, the NBC network. And you heard his response. And you know, it's vexing. It's hurtful to know that many of perhaps family members, friends, someone you know, met their end that way. We saw the video. It's stinging to look at, quite frankly. But you know, it's a policy that has been made very public. and very vocal by Donald Trump himself. Well, I'm going to hear what the Hot Topics panelists have to say. What are their views on this very strict and firm, no-nonsense policy that the Trump administration has imposed? Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, and good evening to my contributors, Cassius Stewart, Ellington Ferguson, and Howard Johnson. Gentlemen, good evening to all of you.
Good evening, Shanique.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. Certainly it's a pleasure to be back here once again.
Howard, you kind of dipped out for a moment, so let's just jump in, gentlemen. Your thoughts on this protest that took place in Grenada. Again, we see that 2 men from Trinidad and Tobago were caught up in some activity there in the area, in the waters of Venezuela. They unfortunately met their end right there on one of those boats. Your thoughts on this policy that has many people sort of asking and saying, listen, can we not come to the table and renegotiate?
Shanique, I think, and we're seeing this strong stance on drugs seemingly taking place, starting with Haiti a few months ago, where some of our own Bahamian men were slaughtered. And so the U.S. have made an announcement that they're treating this war on drugs, they're taking it to the next level where they're declaring it as terrorist acts on their country. And we've talked here in the Bahamas about the scourge of drugs on the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for a number of years, and we've talked about getting tough on the war on drugs and all of that type of thing. I think what needs to happen, we see the protests going on in those other Caribbean countries. I think the leaders of these Caribbean need to come together as a group. They need to approach Washington and have a conversation as it relates to what kind of intel is it that the U.S. have to ensure that these boats are correctly dubbed as drug smuggling boats, go-fast boats. I think they need to really approach Washington rather than sit in the kitchen and just talk and cry about it. I think they need to go head on and have this conversation with Washington.
So you are saying, Cassius and Howard, what Ellington is saying is the region should try and obviously ask for a meeting with Washington to find out exactly what intelligence they have that leads them to believe that any boat on the water that perhaps is a go-fast boat, you heard the Minister of National Security, stay clear of those, but that any boat that looks suspicious and that they must like what, do a double take, they must revisit it, they must scratch under the surface just to make sure that this boat is perhaps running drugs?
Well, see, Shanique, we're in the dawn of a new era when it comes to drug smuggling in the Caribbean. Of course, you know that America is directly affected negatively by the amount of drugs. If you see what's going on in Seattle, Washington, and in California, all of the people who strung out on the streets. And Trump has a personal issue because his brother was alcoholic and he don't like drugs. And so coming from a personal perspective, though, I think it's time for us to put an end to this covering of drug trade in the Caribbean. When you go into Malaysia, you go into Singapore, they have a clear policy. If you smuggle drugs, the penalty is death. No questions asked. And that's their policy on that side of the world. Us, we've allowed, of course, drugs to come through. We allow people to move back and forth. But I think this is a good position in the fact that it says, no, we're going to put an end to drugs, because in the 80s, we all know the negative effect of cocaine and crack on the whole Bahamas. A lot of people were strung out. It caused the breakup of a lot of families. And so I think this move is the era of a new era when it comes to making sure that we see the end of drug trafficking. Now, Colombia, of course, Trump just said something about Colombia and the president today about because they manufacture a lot of cocaine in Colombia. But I think now it's time for these nations to now put a no tolerance to drugs. Because it is affecting not just America, it affects the Bahamas, it affects all over the world. And young people get caught up in drugs, particularly young college students, and destroy their lives. And the president's position is, we don't want that. And so you can't come from the position that America is all powerful. These nations could protest all they want, ain't nothing they could do. The Bahamas, we could bicker all we want, ain't nothing we could do, because if America say embargo on your country, that's it, you finish. I mean, Cuba's now being affected by it. And so we just have to understand that we have to go with the flow. We say in our country, no to drugs. And the Minister of National Security is right. So if you're in a go-fast boat with drugs, the probability of you being blown up is very, very high. So don't do drugs.
Shanique, can you hear me, Shanique?
Yes.
Well, I just think that this is shaping up to be a real serious geopolitical nightmare and a regional crisis that is taking place down in the Southern Caribbean. I applaud the efforts of the United States government to continually battle the drug trafficking and the narco trafficking that's taking place. It is impacting the United States. I see it every day. And I'm glad they're doing something about it. This war on drugs started some 50 or 60 years ago. And, I think it's failing miserably. I'm not saying that this fight shouldn't be fought, but I believe that this particular fight here is not just about narco trafficking and the drug trafficking that's coming through. I believe that it is also about the fact that the United States government no longer wants Nicolas Maduro in power in Venezuela. And they are doing everything they can to make sure that everything that's going on the periphery, they can handle and control before they make that strike. And I think they should have taken him out of power from Chavez that died, but they didn't think that this guy was as dangerous as he is. But this is also about Nicolas Maduro,
Yes.
and the United States no longer wants him in power. And this is just the first shot across the bow for them to take this particular guy out.
Well, Colombia president is now on the radar now because he's been named as a drug trafficker today.
Oh.
And so
Yeah.
that's something that we got to look out. So
The president of Colombia
president of
named
Colombia.
a drug trafficker.
yes.
And,
today.
and Shanique, one more thing, Shanique, real quickly, right? There's always been a policy, okay, towards Latin America and the Caribbean. I think it came under Theodore Roosevelt, and that policy was speak softly and carry a big stick. Well, now it includes blowing things up. And so while I agree to some degree with the minister that, you have to stay off these go-fast boats, I do believe that America needs to bear some responsibility because Trinidad is not Venezuela. Trinidad is its own country, and their citizens have been killed. I don't know if this was just an accidental shooting or bombing, whatever you want to call it.
No one, I'll tell you this, Howard, no one in any news sites is saying or pushing that narrative that this was innocent men who were killed.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they were guilty or caught
Right,
in
right.
anything nefarious, but more than, however, they were caught up in obviously the wrong place at the wrong time because
Yes.
that shooting of that boat from above didn't necessarily happen in Caribbean waters per se. It affected us. It was near
Okay.
enough,
Okay.
but certainly, obviously, there was some suspicions going
Suspicions?
on,
Okay.
and so therefore they got caught up in that.
but
And so,
remember-
and we yes, Cass, yes, before you jump in, and you all are right. We've been fighting this fight now for decades, and now there's somebody who is strongly and showing a very his muscles and flexing his muscles that this is either you all stop it or this is going to continue happening.
See, we think that they're just blowing up these boats randomly. They have the technology to see what's
yes.
on these boats, and so I'm not sure they have the type of technology they have in the Bahamas because they have a back end to all of our cellular phones. So every conversation you have, the U.S. government is listening to the Bahamas, whether your phone is on or off. And so that's why they're able to apprehend people in the Bahamian waters or
Exactly.
Bahamians because they listen to all of our conversations. I'm not sure they have the same thing in Trinidad and so on, but they have the technology to know. But I think it's time to put an end to this drug smuggling, and we have to squash that because we've seen the devastation in the 80s and the 90s.
Yes.
It was George Bush who went into Colombia and they destroyed all of the cocoa fields by spraying some kind of chemicals. But now they go into, if you bring that on the water, we can destroy it. So, I mean, I've been in Seattle, Washington. I saw how people are strung out on drugs in Seattle, Washington. I mean, all over the streets. They try to run
Is that
behind
the
it.
state where they're slumped over and just
Yes,
walking around like zombies?
yes, and
Yes,
it's bad.
Well,
Yeah.
Prostitution
I
is
just don't
all over the place. So it's really, really bad in America. And it's, as a president, as the leader of a country, you got to be able to save your people. And that's one of the ways he's saying his people. Now, it may be questionable, and we have to figure out exactly. I mean, the U.S. Congress is now saying whether it's legal or not, but he's doing what he needs to do to make sure that America is safe.
That America
and
is
every
safe.
country must take the same stance. The Bahamas first, America first. We look after our people.
Absolutely, gentlemen. I want to quickly segue into this because we have a special interview after the break. So I want to get this in sort of the lead up to that interview. I want to ask you all: are you all paying attention to this? This was become a fight in Michael on the Progressive Liberal Party's end between its hopefuls. Your thoughts on Robert Carron and Ronelle Umbrister?
I think, let's start off with Ronelle Umbrister. I think she's a wonderful person. Would she be able to work that constituency? It's one of the toughest, if not the toughest constituency in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I too support behind Robert Carron. I think he's the ideal candidate for that area. I think that Michael need a candidate that can do things and can, they need to move and shake, or somebody that can get things done, in many cases independent of having to wait for the government, because the government has its hands full with this northern area that they focus on. Government is not necessarily focused down this. So I think I've watched the race going on. I think Robert Carron is the better candidate, as it not necessarily as a better person, but as it relates to what Michael needs.
Could I say this quickly?
Well, I don't know the lady, and I just met Robert Carron for the first time. Hello. So, but I think, I mean, I know Acklands, I know Crooked Island, I know Long Key, I know Inagua, and I get calls from there every day, and they tell me what's going on. They need leadership. Acklands is perhaps that Michael constituency is perhaps, it's like a budding rose is waiting to flourish. I told you last time that Acklands has the best cooperative in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. They generate more money than any cooperative in the whole Bahamas. So they got something. Now, they just need leadership. How do we put someone there that can handle the administration, making sure that there are proper street lights, the clinics are run properly, the schools are run properly, and so making sure that the government services are also there, but also provide activities for the young people. And so how do you create an environment for people to go back into Acklands, Crooked Island, into Inagua? And these islands are very beautiful. They they get some really, really, really great people down there. But I tell you, they need leadership, and that's the critical factor. Between the two opponents, leadership has to arise, and then the party has to choose which one is the best.
I will jump in really quickly.
Well, I've already talked several times about Mr. Carron, and I heard a voice note to speak to something Ellington said earlier about the young lady and what she needs to do down there. I heard a voice note from someone that purported to be a general of hers, but I believe out of Acklands. It was about 5 minutes long, and it was talking about how the young lady is moving around and even sitting under the tree. And that was very concerning for me, because we don't need people in our Parliament and House of Assembly to sit under the tree. What we need to do right now is we need to elevate to a higher vibration. We need to start operating in this country from a higher algorithm. Cassius, you know, when I took UT Lutra for the first time 25 years ago, when we both had hair, we used to hang out, play basketball, and sit under the tree. You know, sitting under the tree is a cultural experience in the Bahamas.
Yes.
It is not a qualification for political leadership in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Let's sit under the tree at Fish Fry, at Pineapple Fest, at James Siston Homecoming, at Governor's Harbor Homecoming, and let's have a good time. When we want serious leaders who are going to lead our country into the future, we need people who have resources. We need people who have ideas. We need people who have a working plan that is going to bring relief to the challenges that are facing our people in constituencies that are just like Michael. And I believe Mr. Carron is the person who can do that. I don't know who the F&M is bringing. They can bring whoever they need to bring, and we can compare. But right now, as it stands, I think Mr. Carron is the front and away leader in this race.
Hot Topics panelists, I thank you all very, very much. A lot to say. Listen, their opinion can go on for the rest of the show. and just getting started, we have so much to talk about, but I'll tell you this. When we come back, we will hear from Robert Carron himself, because we really want to hear from him. I mean, does he need to sit under the tree, or does he need to have a plan? And what is that plan? Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Welcome to Blissful Escapes, where luxury meets affordability. Whether you're seeking relief from aches and pains or simply looking to indulge in some well-deserved pampering, relax and detox in our infrared sauna. Enjoy a soothing Swedish massage or an invigorating exfoliating body scrub. We also provide advanced facial treatments using cutting-edge technology, including hydrofacial, microneedling, and microcurrent therapies, located at the shops of Cable Beach Plaza.
Sting Junkanoo Group is celebrating 25 years of music, and you're invited to the greatest show ever. Counting down the years, performing hit song after hit song. Stevie S, Colin McDonald, KB, Dyson Knight, and D-Mark. Saturday, November 1st at the Farm Marshall Road, 8 p.m. until. Tickets can be purchased online at www.bahamasettickets.com for your skybox or to be a food vendor. Call 424-6433, 477-0191. Sponsored by ZNS, Island Luck TV, The Farm, Gatorade Today & Co. Limited, Chris Minute, and Associates.
Things may be tough, but Wendy's got you covered. Grab a day single or chicken sandwich with a junior fries and 16-ounce beverage for just $6.95. Why choose less from the other guys when you can get more? At Wendy's, we're providing bigger bites and better deals. So purchase your Tings Tough Value Meal today. Now available at all locations excluding the airport and food truck.
At the Water and Sewage Corporation, safety and convenience are our top priorities. However, our meter readers face challenges that can make their job difficult. Locked gates to guard dogs sometimes leads to missed readings and estimated bills, which can be frustrating for you and us. That's why we're upgrading to digital meters. They bring safety, accuracy, and convenience to homes across the Bahamas. We can streamline data collection, reduce on-site visits, and provide more accurate bills with no more estimates. Digital meters also help detect leaks early, saving you from costly bills and reducing water waste. Soon, a user-friendly app will let you track your water usage, manage bills, and stay informed, all at your fingertips. Over the next year, we're rolling out digital meters nationwide, transforming how we serve you with a safer and cost-efficient water supply. To learn about our digital meters, visit our website or call us today. And don't forget to update your information at any of our locations.
I feel good when you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song. Feel good, feel good. I feel good, cause your perfume isn't loud, and only I can talk about. Feel good, feel good. You feel like velvet rubbing over my skin, and when you're
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. 1 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you tuned in. Pull up a chair. We're going to continue on this evening. Last week, Robert Depuch Carron appeared before the Interviewing Selection Committee of the Progressive Liberal Party. It was a major big deal in that he brought out really a number of supporters from the Mical constituency who say Robert is the man that they want, a man with a vision that they can stand behind and support, and one that they're excited about. We're going to discuss with Robert because I'll tell you, Michael, as we know it, we've heard about it. I've featured various islands of Michael on this show over the years. To hear the people cry for whether it's an airport or medical facilities, the roads, and so many other things that Michael just feels as though it's been neglected, that they deserve the type of leadership, the capable leadership that they want. If we can just maybe turn that up a little bit, Justin, so we can hear what took place at PLP headquarters last Wednesday, and then we'll come back and discuss. And so that there, of course, was last week, nearly a week ago. Tomorrow makes a week, and it's a part of the process. But what Robert did, obviously, was brought along with him, just so that they can feel a part of what it is that he is doing. Many residents and supporters out of Michael, the 5 islands that make up the Michael constituency. Well, I want to welcome Robert and Michael Strawn here to Beyond the Headlines this evening. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to have you both here.
Hi. Good evening, Shanique. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks again. Nice to see you again.
Yes, it's good to see you both as well. And let's just get right in because it's a lot to talk about. First of all, Robert, describe that moment. Describe that moment when you appeared before the interviewing committee and with so many people chanting your name.
Actually, thank you. That was very humbling. It was very surprising. It was very enlightening. It was very encouraging. It was a combination of emotions. I must say that as my mother said something to them, there was a question asked about the impartiality. Would the Tribune be continue on? And my mom had me read a message, and I'll read it for you guys. It was that she said, the Tribune will continue blasting. It will blast him if he messes up, and it'll blast you for selecting him if he messes up. So my mom was well there, and but it was a very unique moment, and I think, Shanique, it indicated people want change, and as you rightly said, we need to bring change to these islands and the family islands.
You're absolutely right. But back to that, because that was a discussion that we had last evening on the show, where even this media house was called into question. Another businessman entering politics, and just, can we be impartial? You insisted, Robert, that just as you said, I forget what you said, your mother said she would have nothing less. She would not allow the Tribune to obviously be and show biases.
Correct. I mean, the Tribune stands for a voice that has for those who have no voice. And, being bound to swear the dogmas of the master is a motto that, as you well know, we take very seriously. But my grandfather, who was the publisher of the Tribune, was involved in politics. He brought Michael to the Bahamas. My uncle Eugene was an editor. My uncle Bernard worked at the Tribune. My uncle Pierre had the printing business. I don't really think that is an issue if you have the right setup, and we have editors. The editorial direction of the Tribune is by the newsroom. The editorials are the opinion of the DePuch family. There's a difference. And just like you have here, I don't see any outside influence, and I don't think that there's a thing. But I think that people who are passionate about the country should be encouraged, whatever industry you're in. The lawyers their law firms don't stop. So you just have to make sure that you have your business regularized to make sure that these things are sorted out before you go in. And we have Michael, as you know, I'm the founder, but I don't have an executive position at Baxman. I don't have an appointment. We've had Michael and Patrick runs it, and we have a team. Quincy was here, and there's Adam and the VPs of Infrastructure, VP of Government Affairs. So there's a big team running it. As in the Tribune, we have editors-in-chiefs running it, and we have Rashad and Ava and a great team of journalists there running it. And so I think the people can rest assured, as far as the Tribune is concerned and Baxman is concerned, that's not an issue really.
And Baxman, of course, is a sort of a weather network, but it's so many moving parts to it that's going to impact Michael as well, right? Michael? Listen, I almost said right, Michael? Right, Michael?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when we were here the last time, we discussed some of the potential economic impact that the project is going to have, and one thing we from a company standpoint, as Robert said, needs to make clear, he's the founder, but he doesn't hold an executive position. Myself and Patrick Rollins handles the day-to-day running of the business. And from even before he floated this idea about politics, I think one of the first site visits that we did almost 2 years ago was to the Michael constituency in planning for this project, way in ahead of our heads of agreement being signed. And since then, we've been in the constituency frequently, and as is other islands, but strategically speaking, we see the value, as we stated the last time, in what the constituency as a whole is going to bring to the project. And one of the unique challenges that we're going to have is because of the distance between the capital and those southern islands, there is going to be an absolute need to ensure that we invest heavily in infrastructure and staffing down there, because it's going to be impossible for us running the business in our sort of continuously dispatch teams down there on a consistent basis when maintenance is needed, and even just the general functions to make sure that the assets that we're investing heavily down there function properly, and the relevant staffing to man those areas, protect those areas, and provide the level of service throughout the entire network that we're building out is there. And as I think the last tropical storm that was passing was after our parents, and the Southern Islands was the first point of contact. And so it just highlighted the need for us to build out the level of infrastructure there, not only for the rest of the Commonwealth, but also for the citizens there, that they're not caught off guard by these weather phenomena that's currently taking place.
And you're right, they're the first ones to sort of sometimes have to be faced with a system. In fact, during the break, they said, listen, there is a hurricane looming, maybe in just over a week or so, that it possibly can be headed our way. And this is what they do. That's a part of that weather network. Well, gentlemen, I want to talk about infrastructure gaps and what's missing in Michael. It's just so many things that's happening that's needed. You all have gone through the entire 5-island constituency. You see the weaknesses there. You see what's needed. You see what's been allowed to sort of, I guess, deteriorate. Just a whole lot that's needed in Michael. Robert, people say, you know what? Okay. If Robert DePuche Carron is interested, I mean, you do have a history there. You mentioned your grandfather, your uncles, and all the rest of them who have served as members of parliament before in the Michael constituency, even when it was a split constituency. But let's talk about what exists today. Right. The Southern Islands there, of course, the residents, so much is going on, and meaning that so much need to be done. That's why it's going on, and they've been crying for years, in fact, to get attention to those islands. Robert, the basic services are lacking. Infrastructure is lacking. If you were to think about perhaps, and Michael, you can jump in as well, because you're going to be right there also trying to obviously help move things along and make it happen. What are perhaps the top 3 priorities that you can identify right now, whichever island it is in that constituency, that you are, even before being elected, or even knowing that you got the nomination, that you were like, you know what, that needs to be addressed?
So, well, thank you for that, Shanika, and that's a very important point. This is not a magic wand, and I'm not Santa Claus. I will give 110%, but we have a long way to get back. We have to get, in order to really have a viable islands, you have to have the minimum. You have to have an airport, you have to have emergency services, and you have to have some sort of banking system. We're lacking them in the islands. I'm speaking to hopefully Mr. Ruber Roberts, hopefully you're watching, sir, for Commonwealth Bank, to please see if they can sort that out. The second thing, Michael and the team are our ambulances are on the way. They'll be landing here in a couple of weeks. And then the paramedics and stuff will be landing there, because you can't build an airport.
Now speak very clearly. I apologize for interrupting you. I just want to say, when you say the ambulances, like flesh that out more. I think there are about 6 or 7 of them, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so let the people know, and they're there's one assigned to each of those islands.
That's correct,
okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
So there's 2 parts to the company, Backswim. There's Backswim, which does the live flight tracking in the weather, which is Michael's side, and there's another part, the project manager, which does the EMS. And they've teamed up with our partners, Response Plus Medical from Abu Dhabi, the largest pre-hospital care in the Middle East. And they're the ones who are responsible. We've delegated authority to them through the government, and they're bringing an aviation spec ambulance. These are ambulances that are much higher. These are not community ambulances. These are ambulances that can do trauma, they can do ICU, and they can stabilize patients. The next thing is we need to have paramedics in there. Then we need to have housing for these individuals. That presents a problem because in Cat Island and San Salvador and Andros you can find it. As you go south you can't find it. So we're having to build houses, prefab houses, so we can have them. And that then goes, we need to have logistics, we need to have housekeeping, we need to have services, food, logistics, and planning. And then at the next phase, the second phase will be in the new year, the HEMS, Helicopter Emergency Management Systems, will be set up in Inagua. And that is where we're going to base our helicopters in Agua and Andros and Abaco. And we're going to bring people back, thanks to Dr. Darvel, into Exuma, Georgetown Exuma, which have a mini hospital. No point in bringing them 400 and some miles to Nassau. I had a case where I was trying to help out a gentleman who was injured during the last tropical storm, but the life flight couldn't get down there. Eventually we got one out of Turks and Caicos to take him to Santo Domingo. But it just shows you that if you're going to have citizens living in our family islands, they can't be second-class citizens, Shanique. Well, they must have the same rights as every other Bahamian.
Right.
I find it, I use the term legalized apartheid because if it costs $15,000 to get your loved one to a hospital in Nassau, it doesn't cost us that to call an ambulance here. They have to have the same rights, and we have to be able to do that. And that's one of the greatest things. I think the three things that we can say we're going to be able to do. We're going to get the airports so that they have the right codes, so they're not going to get any problems. The second thing, Michael and them are going to, Response Plus is going to make sure the EMS services are up to par. And because the aviation there, they can help on the community side. And Michael and the crew are going to provide the best amazing weather that you could possibly have, real-time weather. And this will be happening by the end of this year. Some of the apps are ready. We're testing them out now. And that's why we had a relationship with NOAA. They provide the real feeds to us so we can help the Department of Meteorology with the forecast and we can visualize it for them. But we really focus on aviation, and with Michael's talents and skills from Western Air, him and Patrick have been a wonderful job with Adam there doing it. So I handed.
So I hear already, and Michael jump in, I already hear for Michael several sort of several aspects of the economy that can be developed. That's going to be brand new to Michael. Housing, training for emergency EMTs, so many other things. Forget the helicopters and the rest of that. That's obviously specialty talent that will come on stream. But for those things to operate, and you already called out Rupert Roberts, and so whatever that means, the point is, though, you plan on really actually having MyCal become its own hub, where MyCal can almost sort of, in the initial instances, take care of itself.
Yeah, correct. I mean, what we uncovered again during our initial economic impact studies was that the only way the project would be able to function at the level we needed to function at in those islands is we would have to invest heavily in the infrastructure build out. And we understand that with that, it attracts not only local upskilling, but also, natives from those islands that are currently here in Nassau that had felt like they had no choice but to relocate to Nassau or the other northern islands that have more economic activity. They can now go back, they can help build out their communities, because the one thing that we've noticed, and it's a very big travesty, is that most of the citizens of those islands, they're aging very quickly. And there's not enough youth to regenerate the population down there. And those older generation persons are suffering from health issues, which is why the medical services part is so near and dear to Robert for personal reasons. But even from a business standpoint, what happens if one of our guys take ill? A catastrophic event happens at one of the sites. We want to be able to offer that level of service, not only to the locals, but to our team members. And in the unlikely event that even an aviation incident happens, we want to be able to provide the best opportunities possible for persons to walk away from those crashes with minimal to no injury, or to enhance their chances of survival. So it is going to create a different level of opportunity. We're proud to be making that investment. We're proud to be not only in MyCal, but throughout the Bahamas, but especially MyCal because of the economic challenges that they face. And it's something that we take personal, and we're going to make sure that we see this through to the best of everything that we're able to get done.
Well, that's really good. Michael residents were waiting to hear about this, needed the details. And we're going to listen, we have more for you coming up after the break. So don't go anywhere, because when we come back, what happens after the campaign? Now, we know obviously Robert is in this to win it. And when I say, I don't even mean the campaign, I'm talking about this build out that they're talking about, because Basquin, the weather network and all its subsidiaries, has been sort of directed for Michael, and all these other things. You heard him say the emergency response vehicles are on the way and will be perhaps in that area in about a few weeks. And so, but what happens after the campaign in terms of leadership? It's a constituency where the people will need training. They would need upskilling. They would need to be perhaps motivated all over again. Let's hear what Robert's idea of, and even attracting younger people to return, all of that Michael just talked about. We're going to continue this conversation after the break. This is Beyond the Headlines. Our conversation with Robert DePuch Carron continues after the break.
My late husband, Tyrone Albury, had a passion for brewing beer at home. We found one of his recipes and we started on the stovetop with 1 gallon of beer. It was a hobby that turned into a passion project that turned completely out of control. We had to make a decision whether or not we were going to continue home brewing or open a brewery. So craft beer is basically brewing a very small batch of beer. Every individual batch of beer is going to be slightly different.
We're always trying to figure out what the next best beer is going to be.
Just the sheer amount of love and effort that goes into every brew. It's a science, really, to selecting the right grains and the hops, and then expanding on some of the normals.
Really, in the last couple of years, we've had a lot more of the locals that have found our location.
They realize that there is a fuller flavor beer out there, and we take pride in that. When we first started the concept of the brewery and we were looking for funding, it was the SBDC that we leaned on to help me push through at times when I wanted to give up, to tell me when I was making mistakes, and for that, I am grateful. So I would encourage all entrepreneurs, if you're looking for funding, mentorship, and encouragement to launch your new business idea, I would encourage you to contact the SBDC.
Are you ready to take the next step in growing your business? Check your eligibility for our guaranteed loan program at sbdcbahamas.com/GLP or call 461-7232 to learn more about how the SBDC can support your business.
Running out of space? We've got room for that. Welcome to Skyline Storage, your trusted self-storage solution. Skyline Storage offers units from 5x10 to 10x30, climate controlled or standard dry. Perfect for home or business. Located in Westfield Commerce Park, Western New Providence. Your belongings stay safe with gated access and 24/7 surveillance starting at $175 a month. Reserve, pay, and move in online. No phone calls, no paperwork. Visit SkylineStorage.com. Skyline Storage. Storage made simple.
7.5 years, but I walk in here all of a sudden, total stranger. I'm calling you Rick and Sheila like.
I win. At Island Lock, we take sports seriously. Get ready to experience the thrill of winning anytime and any place. Bet in real time and live the thrill of every play while watching your winnings stack up. It's your chance to score big with fast payouts and a world-class experience. Get in the game and bet the Bahamian way with Island Lock Sportsbook.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. One 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. In this segment, we're having a special one-on-one. We'll actually with Robert DePuch Carron, the PLP hopeful for the Michael constituency. He is here with one of his executives of Basquin, Michael Strawn, and they are talking about the goals for Michael, the vision to bring Michael up where the rest of the Bahamas is and not have it feeling left out as though it's some other out island. Like it already is an out island, but it's an island of the Bahamas. The goal is, as you've been hearing and you've heard before, is to come about just a strong economy that has so many moving parts, that so many people can have a hand in and participate in. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, Robert and Michael. It's good to have you both here. Robert, the momentum that you've established on the ground, seemingly throughout Michael, on the 5 islands, it really it's something that you cannot miss. If you are successful in securing the Progressive Liberal Party's nomination and then go on to be elected, how do you plan on maintaining that momentum, but having that translate into real leadership, into something that people can touch, feel, see, live, experience, enjoy?
Well, thank you for that. That's a great question. So I think we were talking during the break. It's about a vision. It's about stickability. And I think, what I lack in experience, I do gain in integrity. And you can't overpromise, but you have to overdeliver. And the one thing is that we're going to stick with what we're going to do. And then we have to open the islands to new ways of thinking. And I call it get away from this government dependency syndrome. We must bring ourselves and other private sectors down there. We must embrace the fact that the Southern Islands are close to the Turks and Caicos and Santo Domingo. There's no reason for them to really trade with us. They can trade with us, obviously, Nassau, but it's 485 miles away. As you will know, if you're traveling from Acklins or Crooked Island, if you want to go to Mayaguana or Anagua, you have to go to Nassau, which is 400 and some miles to the north, to come back overnight and then come back. That's not, in 2025, I don't think that's really viable. And one of the things, I was very happy, Shanique, is that I was able during the candidates interview to bring people from all Michael and them to come up here. We sat together, we broke bread, and even those that were supporting other candidates, the wonderful thing was they were all here in Nassau together, and they could reach out and talk to another. But let's be honest, you cannot. The long and suffering people of Michael have not had opportunities, and I'm not saying that I can bring all of them, but I call it you have to have reach, and I don't mean financial. I do mean you have to have connections, you have to leverage things, you have to be able to think outside the box. And that's one thing I think I really bring that probably could be, I'm not a politician per se, I'm a business person who comes from a law and journalism legacy. And I would hope that I can really change the dynamic that we can then, I don't want to give them fish, I want to teach the people of Mayaguana and Acklands and Crooked Island and Long Key and Inagua how to fish, as Mother Pratt used to tell me.
Important.
So we have to open them up and we have to bring young people back, whether they be doing that. They have to have opportunities. And so what those opportunities, I have to, obviously, once I am selected, if I am selected, and even if I'm not selected, I love those islands. I've been down there since I was 8 years old. I'm not from there, I haven't had the privilege of being from there, but I really do love them. And I hope that the people can understand. I talk from my heart, so I will give you 110%, and whatever we decide to do, fix the dock. I mean, the dock in Salina Point hasn't been fixed since the last hurricane. I mean, that is an absolute no-brainer. We have to do that. Roads have to be there. But, you know, Shanique, there is no pharmacy. There's no dry cleaners. There's no wash houses. The running water needs to be addressed. There's so many things, but we need to start somewhere. Let's start with the very basics and let's move forward. And my hope is that, you know, we're going to make mistakes, but it's not how many mistakes you make. If you fall over when your father or mother would say, well, get up, let's go again. And that's what we've got to do. We have to have stickability. We have to have a vision, and we have to go. And then, you know, I want to thank, you know, the Prime Minister and the members of the committee for allowing me to be in this process. It's been a wonderful experience, and we'll see how we go.
I'm sure you didn't, like several years ago, you didn't even think that you would be here. But just to hear of what you are doing and what you've already done, whether it's in helping individual families, whether it's this major vision that you've shared on this show and shared elsewhere that I've been able to read and look up and research. I mean, it's just incredible to see a set of islands transform. And the people finally have that opportunity that they're looking and have been asking for decades, in fact. Let's talk about the fact...
If I just say one thing.
Yeah.
You can't hope for change. You have to vote for change. And I would encourage all, from young and old, please, don't have to support me. Support anyone you want. But be engaged. It is our country and our citizen. The Prime Minister has a vision. Help execute that and come together after the election as Bahamians, for all of our station, for your families, for our family, and for those who are not yet born. And that's what really have to do. The status quo cannot exist any further.
No.
And that's what I hope. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, interrupt. Listen, what you're saying really is it's something that's national. You can't hope for change. You've got to vote for it, and you've got to participate. I want to ask you about Maikal. Maikal, we know 5 islands make up that constituency. There's been whisperings about whether or not it may split. I don't know if I see that happening, but who knows? But Robert, if the Progressive Liberal Party makes you their candidate, how do you plan to evenly sort of touch and reach out to and make your presence felt and more tangibly make your presence felt on each island?
A lot of traveling. And you have to be able to dedicate that. And, you know, the interesting thing is, even in traveling, you know, if they're having a big festival, it's very hard to get rooms and stuff like that. So you have to go down there and spend time and do a canvassing of what you can do. Be realistic with the people. They might not like me, they might not like what I say, but at least they know the truth. And I'll be always honest. And I've always told the people I'll be honest with you. So the project aside, Shanique, let's just put the project aside, because the project happens independent of myself and Michael and those. So you have to find out what it is. So the you know, first things first. Let's find out what the things we can do. For example, you were talking in the break about brackish water being in the wells. Well, you know, there's no reason for the desal plant to have sat in Nassau for 2 years because it didn't have a concrete base. Okay, they've got that sorted out.
Which
Great.
island did you notice this on?
That was in Acklands, yeah.
In Acklands. And so you have already been on the ground addressing, I've been doing my research. I've seen you speaking, whether it is with water and sewerage and the health professionals there for the clinics and the health centers. These are things that you've been paying close attention to.
Well, yes. I mean, I you know, I've always, you know, my grandfather and mom and dad always said, you know, pay attention to the little things, son. If you pay attention to the little things, the big things seem to work themselves out. So I pay attention. You know, politics is quite easy. You find out what the people want and you try and deliver it to them. If you fail, you explain why you failed. And so I've been trying to find out what are the three things. The problem with the islands, the three things in the islands are very different. And it's obviously the same things in Inagua, it's not the same things in Mayaguana, Acklins, Rook Island, perhaps a bit better. But it is, Shanique, you have to have the ability to put the time in. And as one of your colleagues says, it's wonderful to be able to spend time down there. But as a person, someone who's going to be, that's why I don't want to be a minister. I want to represent the people of Michael.
I know Leslie said that. Leslie said you are not interested
No.
at all in a cabinet post.
No.
Why is that?
Because I want to represent the people of Michael, not to represent, with the greatest respect, the people of the Bahamas. I think there's better people qualified to do that than me. I'm only interested, my love is for the Southern Islands. Although the project will work through all the islands, I think there are more people more qualified and have the time and resources to do that. And so I salute them, and I would just like to do that.
So you want to be the MP who is there when you're needed, who is there even when you just want to show up and support, or just talk and have maybe boiled fish with the people, but you want to be the one who can hear them and have their ears in your voice, have their voices in your ears.
I want to be the person who in the Parliament can be the voice for those in Michael. I don't necessarily have to be down there all the time, because obviously I will be like I was in Turks and Caicos discussing with Indo-Caribbean if they would be interested in a code share with Bahamas Air. But it's the ability to air the voices, the ability to speak with the colleagues, to see what can be done and what doesn't have to be done. Obviously, there is some travel and ability to get down there, but I think it's a balance, as in life. You have to have a balance. And oh, by the way, if I can make one segue, happy birthday, honey. Thank you for putting up with me and for all this. It's a birthday today.
Gotta do that.
And so the ability to travel, the ability to obviously make decisions, and the abilities, the government can't provide it all. So if you find something that people really want, we've got to think outside the box. How can we liaise with somebody, whether they be in Middle East, whether they be in Latin America, whether they be in the United States, to see what we can bring to them.
So you want to busy yourself in bringing as many opportunities as possible to those 5 islands. In fact, the entire nation, because it sounds like you have what you have planned obviously will touch many, many islands and communities. But certainly for Michael, you want to be busy about doing the business of Michael that benefits Michael.
Yes, I mean, I'd like to say pass the buck, PTB. Michael and the guys.
Michael, yes.
Will be doing the rest. I just want to focus on being able to at least give them the representation that they wish. And I'm sure that we will, as I said before, it's not an overnight process, but it's a process that we can get going. And it starts as soon as, well, it started already, but it starts, we cannot, failure is not an option. So that's what I want to say.
Michael, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, just to piggyback on what Robert said, as he embarks on this journey, Baxman remains an independent entity, and we are committed to the entire Bahamas, but especially the Southern Islands and the islands that need it the most. We want to make sure that we bring the level of investment and infrastructure there, and we will act as ambassadors unofficially for the Bahamas everywhere we go. We're speaking in Barcelona in December, myself and Quincy, on the carbon credits project, and we want to use these things as conduits to bring attention to the Bahamas and investment, and ultimately into these islands, as we know that they have assets that, globally persons can benefit from, like Cassie said earlier with the cooperative with the Cascarilla. That's a core ingredient for Campari, and you're meeting all of these people and you're talking about our little country and the impact that we're having in multiple industries globally, and we just want to enhance that and make sure that there's a trickle-down effect to the persons in those islands to have a livable wage, have a good standard of living, and to lighten the load on the government.
Absolutely. One of the viewers said Mayaguana can be the hub of the Caribbean, especially as it relates to shipping and whatnot, and so it's so much promise.
Great port down there.
Yes, absolutely. Robert, if you want to speak just in the last 30 seconds.
Sure, I'll do great.
To the people of Michael.
It's ladies and gentlemen, it's you can't hope for change. You have to vote for change. So whether it's me or someone else, please be active. And to you in the journalisms, and I hope that you will hold me accountable as you hold everybody accountable, and that together we can make a difference for our people, for our nation, and for those not yet born.
Robert Depute Carron, the Progressive Liberal Party's hopeful in the Michael constituency, Michael Strawn, an executive at Baxwin, and also, of course, at the top of tonight's show, the Hot Topics panelists. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. I certainly enjoyed tonight's show and I learned a great deal. I tell you, there's such hope and excitement about what's on tap for Michael and the other areas as well, the other islands. And also I want to say a big thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening. I certainly enjoyed having you along and I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.